Hi everyone, welcome to the Whiteleyverse with me, Connor Whiteley, for another daily short story. Now, before I start today's story, please remember to like, comment and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any new content, and the engagement really helps the Whiteleyverse with the YouTube algorithm. Also, if you want to buy this short story and any of my other fiction, then they're available from all major ebook retailers and at your local bookstore and local library if you requested, and you can order paperback copies from Amazon. Now, here's today's short story. I hope you enjoyed just as much as I did writing it.
Fireworks, New Year, love. Grayson Brown had always absolutely loved New Year's Eve, with the clubbing, partying, and fireworks that made him feel so happy and excited about the amazing new year ahead of him. And after all the rubbish he had had to deal with in the past year with his brother, work, and some drama with old long-gone friends, Grayson was seriously looking forward to the fun of a New Year's party. Grayson stood in his large, spacious bedroom with posh shirts, trousers, and more covering his double bed behind him, whilst he stood in front of a mirror trying to decide what to wear tonight. The large, warm lights in his bedroom made sure Grayson could see himself and his lean body in the mirror, but he partly didn't like how bright his bedroom lights were. They made him feel so vain. Whereas, in all honesty, he didn't particularly care how he looked. As long as he was attractive for guys, he didn't really care too much. Grayson was glad no one else was with himself in his room, as they would probably be choked out of all his earthy, flowery, and spicy aftershaves that he had tried on for tonight. They all combined in the air to create a wonderful but extremely strong concoction that Grayson sort of knew would put off men rather than attract them. He wasn't even sure why he was trying so hard. Grayson was only going to a New Year's Eve party at one of his best friend's house, and Grayson's best friend Cora had promised there would be other gay guys there too. At first, that had hardly won Grayson over because he wasn't all about meeting other gays, having hookups, and doing all that casual sex thing of the gay community. Instead, he wanted relationships, fun, and love. Something he seriously wasn't getting at the moment. Grayson had tried online dating, finding gay guys at university a few years ago, and dating a few people at work. Nothing had worked. So Grayson was hardly surprised he eventually caved when Cora kept asking him out of love and not wanting to see him without a boyfriend for too long. She really was a great friend like that. The sound of Cora's high heels pounding downstairs made Grayson wonder even more about what to wear tonight. Cora had gotten here earlier. Grayson had cooked them a quick vegan chicken coconut curry, and she had gotten ready quickly enough. Grayson had no idea how Cora, the woman that took 2 hours to get ready for any party, had managed to get ready before him. After looking at a tight, sexy white shirt in the mirror, Grayson just wasn't sure. So he fell onto his bed and just took a deep breath of the aftershave-scented air. Why was this so hard? Grayson was normally a wonderfully calm, organized guy who knew exactly who and what he wanted in life. At work, he knew he wanted to get promoted to manager, and he knew he wanted his friend Harry there to be his boyfriend. But it quickly turned out that Harry was a snake in the grass and tried to embarrass Grayson in front of everyone. The dickhead. Grayson heard Cora's high heels pound up the stairs, and Grayson knew he just had to decide quickly because otherwise Cora would choose for him. And whilst Cora was an amazing friend, there was a very, very good reason why she was single and unable to get boys. She dressed, interestingly to say the least, and even if Grayson was straight, he absolutely knew for a fact he would never ever want to sleep with Cora. A few moments later, Cora opened Grayson's bedroom door, sneezed at the heavy scent of aftershave, and just smiled at him. Grayson had to admit tonight she looked a lot better in her little black dress, 6-inch heels, that she would definitely fall over in at some point, and her boobs that was normally on full show were sensibly hidden in her dress. Grayson was more than relieved about that, because the last thing he wanted was to have protected Cora against guys who were only interested in her female parts. Grayson had had to do that too many times before. Some guys were just sexual monsters. Jeans, white shirt, come on, Cora said, smiling. Grayson stood and looked at the tight white shirt he had been looking at only moments ago. It was nice, and it had helped him. Definitely know he was gay before, so it might be a lucky shirt in a way. Grayson quickly threw on the white shirt, a pair of skin-tight black jeans, and some boots. Nice, Cora said with an evil grin. Oh, believe me, my friend's friends will like you. Grayson didn't know how to take that. He was starting to feel like this was less of a New Year's Eve party and more of a blind date or something a lot more sexual. Grayson just didn't know what option he wanted, as they both rushed out the door. Former British Army soldier Ethan Painter hated New Year's Eve with a passion. He also hated Bonfire Night on the 5th of November for the exact same reason. He hated fireworks. Where most people saw fireworks as wonderful flashes of color, organized into breathtaking displays of skill, power, and color, Ethan only saw weapons flashed, like IEDs and explosives that sounded like his friends being ripped apart in the Middle East. Even after 5 years out of the army, Ethan still hated New Year's Eve, and no one ever seemed to try and understand him. Ethan had only politely asked his neighbors either side of his little house, please don't have fireworks. But they both laughed at him and told him to man up. Ethan wanted to shout and moan at them and tell them the definition of manning up and all that crap. He would love to see what they would do if their armored vehicle had been blown off the road and ripped open with enemy soldiers coming in all directions. Ethan knew exactly what that was like because all his fellow soldiers, 10 of them in total, had been killed, leaving Ethan to defend himself until help arrived. All Ethan had gotten for his bravery and surviving for 3 long hours was a medal, a discharge, and some kind of government handout. In all fairness, Ethan knew it was exactly the excuse his commanding officer had wanted. He always said, letting gays into the army was the biggest mistake ever. Better to let them all go. As Ethan sat on a large swinging chair in his small garden, with carefully maintained rose beds, vegetable patch, and some oak trees lining the garden, Ethan felt his stomach grow more and more tense as the sun was setting, the cold was dropping, and soon it would all begin. Ethan had to be inside when the evil fireworks started. He would try to be in bed when the explosions started, but he knew that was useless. He would be woken up, and Ethan's mind would fill with the scenes of explosions back in the war zone. Ethan hated New Year's Eve. As much as Ethan tried to reach out to the military veteran services for support and guidance, and other veterans he knew, nothing seemed to help, and no one in Ethan's new job as a security consultant seemed to remotely care about his fears of fireworks. And after a while, the veteran support services blocked his calls. No one cared about him. That was probably one of the few things he hated about the military and the government. They were all happy and nice when you were fighting, suffering, and dying for them. But the second you weren't, you were just another pleb on the street, as far as they were concerned. Ethan just focused on the slight chill of his skin, the wonderful smell of a neighbor's barbecue, and the smoke, sausages, and burgers scents that were coming from that. He just needed to live in the moment. After a few moments, Ethan realized that it was a bit too cold to stay out here any longer, so he went inside his house, through the large, perfectly clean dining room with its large table, chairs, and cabinets filled with photos of long-dead friends and medals. And Ethan went straight into his little kitchen with its bright white cabinets, large 6-hob stove, and a very tall white kitchen that stood as straight as a soldier in the corner. If Ethan was going to suffer tonight, then he would much rather be a little tipsy, and maybe drunk, and just maybe that would stop the worst of the emotional pain he was in. Ethan opened up his icy cold fridge, and frowned as he looked in the side shelves and realized he was completely out of alcohol. Granted, he probably never had some in the first place, considering he ever so rarely drank, but Ethan was hopeful that his last boyfriend about 6 months ago had bought some for himself. But that insensitive jerk had probably taken them all for himself when he left. Ethan felt his heart speed up as he realized he was going to have to go out or suffer completely tonight. Ethan couldn't survive another year of constant explosions and reliving those horrific memories constantly. And then you had all the idiots who launched their fireworks at 1, 2, and later in the early morning. No. Ethan couldn't do that again. Ethan took a long, deep breath of the cold, refrigerated air and knew he was going to have to go out and get some alcohol. There was a store a few blocks away. And Ethan just hoped beyond hope that no idiot would set off a firework early. Grayson and Cora laughed as she told him about her latest failed sexual conquest at a local bar the other night. Grayson couldn't believe how badly that had gone, and how badly she had embarrassed herself with her entire dress catching on a bar stool and ripping off. Cora seemed perfectly okay about it, and like it was just part of life. That was seriously something Grayson loved about her. She was always in control, and perfectly so. Grayson kept laughing as the two of them went into a little corner shop with its rows upon rows of neatly organized food, drinks, and other little products that people might need. The only reason they were in there was because Cora wanted to buy some alcohol for the party, and she really wanted Grayson to buy some adult protection. Grayson still didn't know what to make of this party she was taking him to, because it was starting to sound less and less innocent by the second, but Grayson couldn't deny he wasn't looking forward to it all. Yet as Grayson started to walk down a little aisle with Cora that was filled with more black wine bottles than Grayson had ever seen before, Grayson's stomach filled with butterflies at the idea of the party being great fun. It had been far too long since he had that kind of fun. As Cora mumbled to herself about the wine choices, Grayson just flat out didn't understand what was so special about the different wines. They were all just black bottles with different colored labels to him. Granted, there were some bottles with pretty pink wine or rosa on the bottom shelf, but Grayson wasn't going to buy anything. He doubted he would make the right decision, and Cora was definitely more of the wine expert than he was. As Cora continued to mumble and moan to herself, Grayson heard the bell to the little store open, and he turned to see out of pure curiosity who had walked into the store. Holy fuck! Grayson's mouth dropped at the stunning-looking guy walking into the little store with his broad shoulders, clearly muscular body, with a very clear six-pack and biceps and more under his thick coat. And that face. Grayson was completely seduced by the guy's hot, stunning face that was framed so perfectly by the rest of his body, and there was something slightly familiar about him. Well, not him per se. But Grayson certainly recognized the posture, haircut, and carefully scanning of the environment from when his older brother and sister had enlisted and trained in the army. Grayson never wanted to experience or think or mention what his brother went through or did ever again. Grayson had wanted to join too, but given how homophobic the people in charge were, who had all had gay sex, Grayson just didn't see the point. If Grayson wanted to work in a homophobic environment, there were definitely a lot better paying jobs than the army. Grayson! Cora shouted in his ear. Grayson jumped. What? Are you listening to me? Cora asked sharply. Grayson shook his head, and his attention snapped back onto the absolutely stunning man walking down towards him. Grayson loved seeing how confident the man was as he walked towards them. That was just flat-out sexy. The man didn't look at Grayson or Cora as he glided past them and started looking at the wine. Grayson went right up to Cora's ear. Give me some posh wine fact. Cora didn't understand. Grayson gestured to the stunning guy. He's straight, babe. Men like him always are, Cora said, moving closer to the man. Grayson just watched as Cora flirted, smiled, and started talking to the man. Then the stunning guy kindly smiled and said that he wasn't interested in women and that he hoped she had a good night. Cora walked past frowning. It took everything Grayson had not to start wetting himself laughing. A firework went off outside. Grayson could never understand the idiots that decided to set off their fireworks this early in the evening. Wine bottles smashed to the ground. Help! The stunning man shouted. Grayson spun around. The stunning man looked so scared, panicked, and frightened. His eyes were scanning the store. He acted like there was a rifle in his hands. Grayson had to help him. What's going on? The male owner shouted as he came down the aisle. Grayson waved him away. The stunning man jumped, smashing more bottles. Grayson slowly lowered himself onto his knees and held out his arms to the stunning man. Hey there, Grayson said slowly. I'm Grayson. What's your name? The stunning man backed away, his eyes wide and scared of Grayson. Grayson slowly edged closer. "You're safe, soldier. The enemy are gone." "You made it," Grayson said. The man seemed to relax just a bit more. Grayson continued to edge forward, until Grayson could jump the stunning man and hug him tight. The stunning man struggled a little bit, but Grayson started to do long, deep breaths, and after a few moments, the soldier copied his breathing and relaxed. Grayson couldn't deny how amazing the stunning man's hard body felt against his, and if the man hadn't just had an attack of something, Grayson would probably try to kiss him. To Grayson's surprise, the stunning man didn't try to push him away. The man simply smiled and moved his head so he could probably get a better look at Grayson. The stunning man looked like he wanted to say something, but he looked too shocked to do it. Grayson had a few inappropriate things he wanted to say, but he felt his hands get sweaty and clammy, and there was something a lot more useful he could do. "Let me help you home," Grayson said. The stunning man slowly nodded. As Grayson helped him up, Cora was being her typically amazing self and was paying for all the damaged bottles, and she just smiled at him. "I'll pay you back," Grayson asked as the two men left the store. "I know you will," Cora shouted with a massive grin. As Ethan was helped into his large spacious living room with two large white sofas, a large coffee table in front of them, and a massive home entertainment system, he just couldn't believe how embarrassed he was. The sexy man who had helped Ethan home gently helped him onto one of the sofas, and thankfully he just sat next to Ethan. Ethan loved how the smaller, sexy man felt against him. Ethan had loved how the man carefully and caringly held him, supported him, and Ethan just flat out loved the sheer chemistry that flowed through them. Ethan had never met such a gorgeous, cute man in all his life, and that included some of the guys in the military with bodies like Greek gods. Ethan seriously loved the man's small, lean frame, tight jeans, and very tight white shirt. This sexy man was just beautiful. And the smell of his earthy aftershave was so overwhelming, but Ethan really loved it. As Ethan stared at the cute man sitting next to him, he couldn't believe how compassionate and kind he had been. Most people during his panic attacks, or semi-PTSD episodes, didn't know how to react, and they just left him. But this sexy man didn't. In fact, he had known exactly how to take control of the situation, calm him down, and protect him. Also, people normally acted like he was the danger, and not the awful fireworks that caused it. But again, this sexy man knew that Ethan wasn't the real danger. And that was just amazing to him. Clearly, the sexy man's lack of muscles, small frame, and youthfulness, even though he was probably the same age as Ethan, meant he had never been in the military. So Ethan couldn't understand how this amazing man knew what to do. Then Ethan realized even more that the sexy man hadn't revealed his name. On the short walk back here, the sexy man had focused completely on distracting Ethan from the outside world and gotten him focused on the questions about his life that the man was asking. The sexy man was amazing. Ethan said. "Thanks for that. What's your name?" The sexy man smiled, and Ethan wondered if he was about to have a heart attack. The sexy man's smile was simply out of this world. "I'm Grayson, and you're welcome," Grayson said, leaning closer to him. Ethan seriously wanted Grayson to hold him again, but Grayson seemed to be sitting just far enough away to make that impossible. "How did you know how to do that?" Ethan asked. Grayson frowned a little. Ethan worried that he had overstepped the mark. He should have just been grateful that Grayson knew what to do. Grayson must have picked up on Ethan's annoyance at himself as he grabbed his again. Again, Ethan utterly loved the electricity shooting between them. "My brother and sister," Grayson said. "They both served. My sister did 3 tours in the Middle East. She came back fine. My brother." Ethan gently rubbed Grayson's hand. "My brother wasn't very okay. He had severe PTSD. The doctors didn't do anything for months, so my brother kept breaking down, screaming in the middle of the night, and..." Ethan knew exactly what he was about to say. He had seen the look in Grayson's eyes way too many times not to know that his brother was dead, and he never even thought or talked about it. "When?" Ethan carefully asked. "Last year. He apparently had a breakdown in the middle of a road. A car backfired, and another car didn't stop in time, Grayson said. Ethan pulled him close and kissed the sexy, beautiful man on the head. I'm sorry, Ethan said, giving him another kiss. Don't be. I saved you. That, almost enough for me. Ethan smiled at that comment and felt his wayward parts spring to life. Clearly, Grayson having him wasn't enough for him either. Grayson slowly pulled his face out of Ethan's chest and he looked into Ethan's eyes. Ethan loved staring into Grayson's bright, wonderful eyes, and he saw something he hadn't seen for ages. Ethan felt himself staring at a beautiful man who was being vulnerable for the first time in ages. And that's when Ethan realized the real Grayson was a lot more sensitive, warm and intimate than most people believed. He had been looking at Grayson earlier in the little store when he was standing there with his friend. Grayson had looked so confident, but it looked forced, and it was probably part of an act that was just so a part of him now, that even he didn't realize that he was acting. Ethan had seen more than enemy and friendly soldiers have to do it over the years. It was easy for Ethan now to know if someone was confident or not. Then there was Grayson talking about all the sex and hot guys and what not at this party he was meant to be doing to on the walk back here. But Ethan could just tell he didn't really want to go to that and have tons of pointless sex, because Ethan was starting to realize all that Grayson really wanted was connection, love, and a relationship. Maybe just a relationship of understanding, shared experience, and knowing what each other went through. But still, Grayson wanted a true relationship. And Ethan wanted to give it to him. What would make this enough for you? Ethan asked, loving the sense of connection he was feeling. Grayson looked at the clock, and Ethan noticed it was only 9 o'clock at night. Plenty of time before the new year, and what it would bring. Let me stay till midnight. I'll protect you, Grayson said. Ethan was about to say yes, then stopped. Not because he didn't want Grayson here, he really did, but he was utterly surprised that he didn't sound condescending, negative, or judgmental about Ethan struggling with midnight fireworks. Grayson was clearly a man who understood literally all of this and wanted to help Ethan out of care or compassion or hopefully love. Ethan had never ever had someone do that for him before. Ethan just kissed Grayson. That was the only answer Ethan wanted to give. Over the course of the next 3 hours, Grayson had wiped away so many tears, his stomach was hurting from laughing so much, and his heart was as light as a feather in love. He had learnt so much about what his brother must have gone through, and Grayson shared tons of little techniques and tips for helping Ethan. Now, as it approached midnight, Grayson sat with Ethan on a black swinging chair in his wonderful garden with roses, a vegetable patch, and more great plants that Grayson was sure looked amazing in the summer. The air was biting cold with hints of smoke, mulled wine, and love that made Grayson wrap his arms round Ethan's stunning body even more. And life really felt perfect as the two sat there, waiting for all the fireworks to kick off. For the first time since his brother had died, Grayson had actually thought about him, his family, and how the death had affected all of them. Ethan was definitely right about him wanting to protect himself too much, and in the space of a few hours, Grayson had told more to Ethan than he had to anyone. Even Cora. It surprised Grayson that he didn't feel ashamed in the slightest. Cora might have been an amazing friend, but the wounds of his brother, and everything surrounding the death, had been such a buried, blacked-out secret that Grayson didn't want to tell anyone. But somehow this hot, sexy man had borrowed it out of him, and Grayson felt amazing and the lightest he had in years. Thank you, Grayson said, kissing the man he honestly loved. Ethan just smiled. It was such a happy schoolboy grin that Grayson had never seen anyone give him before. It felt amazing to have someone look at him like that. No. Thank you, Ethan said. You saved me. Grayson didn't agree with that entirely. He had only helped, but maybe in some way they had both saved each other. Grayson had saved Ethan from suffering tonight, and hot, sexy Ethan had definitely saved Grayson from the blacked-out pain of the past year. We saved each other, Grayson said, kissing the love of his life as the fireworks started. Massive bright red, blue, and green fireworks screamed into the sky. But as Grayson and Ethan just held each other in their arms, Grayson noticed that Ethan wasn't reacting strongly or violently or panicked. He was shaking slightly, but he was okay. Maybe Grayson had saved him after all. And Grayson just knew whatever the wonderful new year brought, they would do it, and handle it, and love it together because they were no longer two broken people each with their own secrets. They were now together, two broken pieces put together to make a very loving and sexy whole that would last till the end of days. And Grayson was more than fine with that.
Welcome back everyone, it's me again, Connor Whiteley. So I really hope that you enjoyed today's story, because I flat out love writing, creating stories and sharing them with you. If you really enjoyed today's story, then please remember to like, comment and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any new content, and the internet engagement really helps the Whiteleyverse with the YouTube algorithms. And if you want to buy this short story or any of my other fiction, then they're available from all major ebook retailers, and you can get them from your local library if you requested, and you can order the paperback copies from Amazon, your local bookstore or local library if you request it. Lastly, if you want to support the channel on a one-off basis, then you can now buy me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/Connor Whiteley. Also, if you know anyone who would enjoy today's story, then please share it with them. I'm always really grateful when you wonderful people help spread the word about the channel. So, thanks for watching the Whiteleyverse, and I'll see you again soon. Have a great day, everyone.